I'm Chris Tuttle, IFBB Pro, Universal Athlete. We're at Marazzo's, size for 70. We're gonna see what kind of good food we can get and probably supply about 5 ounces of meat per meal, equivalent to eggs for breakfast, assuming 1 protein shake will be eaten per meal, about a cup and a half of carbs per meal. So I'm kind of an average diet for average bodybuilder. First tip is pick up the circular of the week and see what we can do. Maybe we can substitute out some meats or vegetables for a little bit cheaper. So we're gonna go around and see what we can round up. For a lot of you guys who don't know, everybody knows Ezekiel bread, everybody knows Alvarado bread, but not many people know what Martin's potato bread is, whole wheat potato bread. As far as like nutrient profile, it's very similar to Ezekiel and Alvarado bread. It's got the same amount of fiber, same amount of calories, carbs, and it's much more forgiving. So it's much more a better bread to have when you pack. It doesn't get too hard or stale, still easy. We'll keep this just in case. We might have this, so I might have to ditch it. We're gonna prioritize here. So we got boneless chicken breasts. It's on sale this week. It's only $2.79 per pound here. You know, please note when you buy chicken, sometimes you're gonna have a yield where you have to trim the fat, and it is gonna shrink a little bit when you cook it. So you always get a little bit over what you need. I need roughly 9 pounds. 5. So there's our meat. So we're gonna get some peanut butter. I am gonna spend a little extra money because I know, pretty sure we'll be able to have it. Natural peanut butter. And a lot of people always ask me, what's the difference between natural peanut butter and regular peanut butter? Is the hydrated oils emulsify the oil into the peanut butter. That way it doesn't separate. A good tip is when you get home in the fridge, just tip the peanut butter upside down, and majority of the time, it will mix up itself. That way you can easily stir it. If the oil's at the top and you try to stir it, it's gonna spill it everywhere. So egg whites. And the reason I'm getting egg whites is generally, I mean, if you do the cost per gram of protein for this versus like buying a dozen eggs and separating your own egg whites itself, it all ends up being roughly the same price unless you can get a carton of eggs for like $1. But I'll end up doing this anyway. They're pasteurized, which means they go through a process with extreme heat for a short period of time that kills all bacteria. So you can drink them uncooked. They do digest differently when you cook versus the raw, but it still gets digested. You just gotta make sure once you open it, you finish it within a few days, or else it will go bad. You know, where I'm from, I don't have this brand of egg whites, and generally, obviously, when you buy something in a smaller amount, smaller amounts end up being more expensive. When you buy a larger quantity, it's cheaper. But obviously, there's 16 ounces in here. 16 times 2 is 32 ounces for basically $4. And this is 32 ounces for $5.39. So it saves us a little bit of money here. So I guess, you know, rule today is to figure out, to make sure you look at smaller portions to see if they're perhaps a better deal. So we'll get an extra one. So I'm gonna get a carton of eggs. You know, generally I will purchase a little more expensive, the cage-free eggs, and I'm gonna eat the yolks, but I'm going to cheap out today because we're on a budget and go with the cheaper eggs to incorporate our 1 whole egg for breakfast. So as I was saying before, like, you know, when you're on a budget, you got to look for a priority, and you're also looking for nutrient-dense foods, meaning for a certain serving size, you're either getting A, a lot of calories out of it, or B, a lot of nutrients, whether they're micronutrients like A, D, E, and K, or B and C. So when you look at vegetables, we're lucky today, the Bird's Eye one are 99-cent vegetables for 10 ounces. So we're roughly going to go through probably 10 ounces per day. So I'm going to get 7 packs of vegetables. And what we'll do is we'll cycle the veggies. So many people get stuck with doing the same vegetable all the time. And the most important thing is you need a variety of food in your diet because they offer different amounts of nutrients. People like to do it because it's easier, it's simple, but you know what? If you're trying to build the physique, you need to maximize the potential of all what food has to offer. It was funny, in my master's program, they did a study and it was basically associating people who take a bunch of vitamins versus a variety of vegetables. And they found that people who eat a variety of fruits and vegetables have a lower incidence of cancer and a better survival rate. They theorized that a lot of foods have a lot of nutrients in it that kind of synergistically work together in making the body healthier and operate at a better frequency. You know, if you look at vegetables, the best bang for your buck, obviously broccoli, spinach, asparagus are going to be some of the best ones, but spinach is one of the best. And the thing about spinach is, like, you can mix it into rice, you can mix it into pasta if you don't like veggies, and it doesn't really create your fullness in your stomach like some other vegetables will. So it has a lot of folate, a lot of vitamins, good bang for your buck with spinach for nutrient density wise. We got our proteins, we got our fat, veggies. Now we need to search out some more starches. And this is still a maybe, even though it's excellent, excellent bread. So I'm getting some quick oats. I like the 1 minute oats. You can put in the microwave and cook them quickly. And obviously this will last much longer than a week, but we'll have extra here. Some of the prices here in a smaller container of oats. Typically, you know, Quaker Oats is the name brand oats, a little more expensive. And then they have usually the store brand, which is kind of following it. But there's another brand of oats here that's much cheaper, and it's on special today. It's only $1. So this will actually last exactly a week. If I do 3/4 cup of dry oats for breakfast, this is enough for 7 days. So this is perfect. No leftover, no waste. So I'm picking up some olive oil, and obviously olive oil, this is enough to last longer than a week. But when choosing olive oils, I tell people, you know, extra virgin, the greener the better. And actually generally, because sunlight can oxidize certain nutrients in olive oil, that it's important to sometimes buy olive oil in cans, in like a gallon jug, so light can't penetrate it. And obviously olive oil was in the Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet has lower incidence of heart disease, high blood pressure and all that, and some of the things in olive oil and all the olives they eat is very cardiovascular protective. The monounsaturated fats and the phytochemicals. Another thing that people don't realize is, like, you know, when people don't include fruit in a off-season diet or even a contest prep diet. I think that's a mistake. I mean, you're gonna really notice a humongous difference between 15 grams, 20 grams of carbs from a banana versus 20 grams from oats. No, and especially in the off-season when you're trying to eat more food, it's important to eat food that's easy, because as long as you're eating a lot, you get sick of eating 2 cups of rice 6 times a day. So bananas and fruit are a good way to get more nutrients for your health, and they're easy to eat. And bananas are one of the cheapest fruit, I mean 69 cents, so you can't go wrong with that. A general rule of thumb is the more like a bright color something is, the more nutrients it contains. So we're gonna go with red potatoes today. And they're $3, and we get about 5 pounds of them. We're not exactly gonna eat 5 pounds of potatoes, but we're gonna switch between potatoes and rice through the week. So a last purchase here, it's gonna be rice. I got long grain white rice. People are like, well, wait a minute, white rice doesn't have a lot of nutrients. You're right, it doesn't. But I'm not counting on this to contain nutrients. I'm counting this as to be one of my primary carbohydrate sources. And obviously, you know, if you cook rice correctly and you don't overcook it, you can be very moist and be a good cheap carb source to have. Because sometimes, like I said, we gotta prioritize. You get what you need, and then from there, then the extra money, you incorporate more nutrient-dense foods, which we have plenty of. I think I'm gonna be under. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, you know, happy wife, happy life. We're gonna add some chocolates for Valentine's Day, since it's conveniently Valentine's Day this next coming weekend. Throw it in there. Now you got your food in the budget, and the girl's happy.
68.80.
Out of 70, crisp dollar bills. I feel fantastic. Now that I know I actually have more food than for 1 week. 6 meals a day, 1 shake being one of those 6, and eggs for breakfast. And we got an extra loaf of bread for carbs to make peanut butter and banana sandwiches for extra if we're hungry. Try to get mass. And this is an off-season diet. And we're nutrient-dense foods. And the girlfriend's happy with some chocolates. Rolling out. I feel like a new man. I'm gonna do the farmer's walk out to the car. This is Chris Tuttle, IFBB Pro, Universal Athlete. This is size for 70. We're gonna do some cooking here in the hotel room. I don't have a food scale, I only have 1 pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how you can get things done with limited stuff, because so many people make excuses on why they can't prep food because they don't have this or that. Well, you know what? If there's a will, there's a way, and I'm gonna show you the way. So obviously all you chefs out there are gonna have better ways to cut chicken, but how I cut it usually, I just, I pull this like this, try to get rid of a little bit of that fat. We're gonna do this one, we're gonna put some hot sauce on that bad boy. Man, one thing of handling chicken is one of the foods that it needs the highest internal cooking temperature to kill salmonella. Salmonella dies at 165, 167. When you buy frozen chicken, you're not supposed to let it thaw overnight, because if the chicken is frozen, solid, the outside is going to start to thaw, the center is still going to be frozen, leaving this at room temperature for 6-7 hours. And that's an easy way to get foodborne illness, foodborne intoxication, if there's enough bacteria on the surface. Because we're assuming that the butcher used sanitary practices. Assuming. It's never the case. A little more hot sauce on this side. I always use a lid, it cooks much faster. Almost makes like a little oven, a little steamer. Pop that bad boy in there like that. We let it cook, and we'll revisit this thing in 1 minute. You know what? We'll get the potatoes going. Potatoes, we don't have an oven here. So we're gonna pop these bad boys in the microwave. And obviously pick the potatoes that are the same size. That way it's gonna cook kind of evenly, or as even as it can in the microwave. Simplicity. Potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4 potato. We'll check those in a bit. And it's funny, how I learned to cook was actually because I didn't like my mom's cooking. When I was like 5 or 6, I didn't like the way she made peanut butter and jellies and grilled cheeses. I liked the way my dad did. My dad was always working as a doctor, so I ended up learning how to cook pans and omelets and stuff at like 6, 7 years old. So that's how it all started. And obviously the next thing started is like when you start getting bodybuilding, you want to eat more food. Nobody's gonna cook all that food for you. So you just end up trying to learn yourself. Trial and error over time. So we're gonna cook some rice. I brought my rice cooker with me, just because I didn't want to bring rice. I like rice that's fresh. So rice cooker is the best way to cook rice. It's very, very easy. There's a little lines in the middle here. It tells you number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 2 line. Do a little bit more, and we're good. Boom. And then when it's done, it's done. It'll pop up to the keep warning sign. Keep warming. Warm, not warning. And then, and that's it. Or when we'll revisit the rice in a minute. I'm gonna start throwing together some meals here. So we decided that, we didn't have a scale, so we had to figure out how much protein we needed for 5 ounces, 5 times 8, about 40 grams of protein. And we looked up on the internet how many calories are in 1 cup of chicken, figure out the grams of protein. So now basically 1 cup of cubed chicken is pretty close to 40 grams of protein. So now we're gonna cube this stuff up. And obviously it's not the ideal use of food scale, but sometimes you don't have that stuff available, accessible. So at this point in time in our cooking extravaganza, our rice is done. And we're gonna portion this rice out, and we're gonna do about 70 carbs. Depending where you look at, rice is generally 45 grams of carbs per cup, sometimes 50. I just count as 45 because the diabetes exchange list, 1/3 cup of rice is 15 carbs, which is 1 carb for a diabetic. So we're gonna do roughly 70 carbs. I like it. I like it like that. Little gooey. So now we figured out again, you know, we want about, mentioned before, at the grocery store, we're looking at like 65, 70 grams of carbs per meal. So we figured that out, what that's going to be with potatoes. So normally it's about 11 ounces, 11 and a half ounces of potato. And 11 and a half ounces, we found out we need 1.7834 cups. 1.8. So I bought frozen vegetables. That's what I always do. People are like, oh, frozen vegetables are fresher, better. It's not true, actually. If they're fresh vegetables and they're imported from a great distance, they actually can lose nutrients in them through the process of transportation because they get sprayed with chemicals that prevent the ripening process. So if you buy frozen, a lot of times the frozen vegetables are frozen on site or close to where they were harvested. So we get frozen vegetables, you just take them out, put them in a bowl, a little bit of water, microwave them, or no water. You don't need to boil them. Obviously boiling is better taste, but for bodybuilders, we're not really doing it for taste. We're doing it for moderate taste, mostly effect. And like I said, I got 7 of these, so we're gonna do 1 per day. And we'll cycle them. We'll do green beans one day, broccoli, and then spinach, and then back to green beans, broccoli, spinach. Get a little variety of vegetables going. Frozen vegetables, they are pre-cooked, and they get frozen. What I usually do is I'll just heat them up or put them in my Tupperware and let them thaw out, and the next day they're ready to roll and I eat them. I'll heat them up in the microwave, but generally this is how I would serve them. Got some imported extra virgin green olive oil, full of beautiful cardio protective properties, including the monounsaturated fats and those yummy vital chemicals. And we are going to add, we'll add roughly 2 teaspoons. This is a tablespoon, so we're gonna do 2/3 of this. We're just gonna eyeball it. It's good enough for me. And I like to put it a little more on my chicken. That's what I prefer. Hot sauce. We're gonna spice that bad boy up. So now we're making the oats, and this is exactly how I make oats. People are like, oh, it takes forever to make oats. No, it doesn't. Half cup of oats is roughly 30 carbs, 27 to be exact. So we're looking for 70 grams. So I'm gonna do 3/4 cup because actually I figured it out. 3/4 cup a day will last us 7 days. So we have roughly 45 here. And we'll make up the difference with the banana. Peanut butter. Try to get as much oil as mixed in as I can before I have to do it myself with the knife. Didn't have time to put it upside down. I was rolling around the back of the car. We're gonna add our fats. Yes, it's a pain in the butt and people like to get the skippy one, but man, get the real stuff. Skippy's for kids. So I like the oatmeal like that. Not soupy, you know, just like that. I'll do a heaping tablespoon. So like what, 10 grams of fat. Add it into the oatmeal. Medium banana is like roughly like anywhere from probably 20 to 24 carbohydrates. Get the Arnold's bread, potato bread. So good. Yes, it's much different than Ezekiel avocado bread. Yes, this is made with flour. The difference is it just has basically the same nutrient breakdown as Ezekiel and avocado bread as far as protein grams, fiber, calories, carbs, and all that good stuff. and it tastes good, and people love it. So I mean, is flour the end of the world? Like this huge gluten-free craze? Every bodybuilder's allergic to gluten? No, it's the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard. Do some people have trouble digesting gluten? Of course. Some people feel better not eating gluten? Of course. Is gluten really going to prevent you from getting leaner? Unless you have some serious inflammatory issues going on. Obviously, you can see we prepped quite the amount of food. So we have 6 meals per day here. And I'm going to go over each one of them and roughly give you the nutrient breakdown. And these are in order. Meal 1, 2, 3, post-workout 4, 5, 6, and I'll go over the snack. So we'll start with breakfast here. So normally, this is basically very similar to what I would do, but in a toned-down version. This is probably what I did actually pretty close, dead on, back when I won Jay Cutler in 2012. So here we are, we got a bowl of oatmeal, we got 3/4 cup of oats, 45 grams, we added a banana, probably another 20 grams, so about 65. We got some egg whites here, and 1 whole egg. So I usually eat 1 whole egg by itself. I do like it over easy, and I usually will just drink this. Sometimes, in the morning I might make it, mix a little ketchup in it, but for the most part, I'll just drink them down. So here we got red potato, we got chicken cooked in hot sauce, and green beans. That's our vegetable for the day because we bought 7 boxes of vegetables and we're gonna cycle the vegetables. Monday being green beans, Tuesday being broccoli, Wednesday spinach, and repeat. So here we have about 11.5 ounces of potato, and we have about 1.5 cups of rice. And what we did was, because we didn't have a scale or the 5 ounces of chicken, is again, we went on the internet, we had 1/2 cup dry measure. We figured out how much protein was in 1 cup of shredded chicken. And then from there, if you know how many grams of protein are in 1 ounce of meat, a chicken is usually 7 to 8 grams, then you can figure out what you need by a dry cup. So it ended up being 1 cup cubed chicken was about 40 grams of protein, pretty close to 5 ounces. And the 11 ounces of potato, roughly around 70 grams of carbs, is what we need here. And we got some green beans, and I put a tablespoon of olive oil for added healthy fat. And here we got 1.5 cups of rice. So 45 plus 22, not quite 70, but close. And we got 5 ounces of chicken again with hot sauce, some green beans. And then we'll wait an hour and a half for digestion. We'll go to the gym, weight isolate, Carbo Plus for our post-workout. And then sometimes, usually maybe an hour after my post-workout, I like to have a snack, because sometimes, the whatever carb you use, the fat status and Carbo Plus can raise insulin levels, and you don't want your blood sugar to crash. So I'll throw in a peanut butter and banana sandwich on a Martin's potato bread, whole wheat potato bread, and got natural peanut butter on there, sliced bananas, 2 pieces of bread. So we're looking at 15 grams a slice per, 15 carbs a slice, or 30 grams of carbs, plus a banana, about another 20 roughly, and you got 10 grams, 12 grams of peanut butter, so I got a heaping tablespoon. And then another meal again, same repeating itself. So we did 2 potato meals, 2 rice meals, kind of revolving every other. Potatoes, green beans, same portion, 5 ounces of meat, 1.5 cups of rice, and 5 ounces chicken, some green beans. And for dessert, we're able to squeeze in a little, because Valentine's Day is coming. And for the girl, you can't be telling her you can't afford Valentine's gift. We afforded a little box of chocolates you sit down and eat with her. So you're happy with your food, building muscle, and she's happy because you thought of her and you're eating chocolates. So that's size for 70, and size for 70, obviously you can see it's pretty real. And believe it or not, actually, when we got back to here, the hotel, and we actually looked exactly how much food we have, there's actually more food than 7 days. We actually had a little bit more meat. Obviously we have more rice than we needed, and obviously we have more olive oil, and certain things will actually carry over to the other week. So really the general tip, you got to make sure you look at the circular weekly, take advantage of the sales, even use coupons, and here we go. $10 a day, can't beat that. People say, oh, I can't afford a lot of food, this and that, but if you really don't eat out almost at all, or you keep it to a bare minimum, go out with a lady on the weekend, you can save a whole lot of money. And that's size for 7 day.